Hi everyone, and welcome to another interesting car here on the Car Reviews podcast with CollectorCarCanada.CA. Before we get to this interesting Cadillac, I just want to remind you that we also have the Collector Car Stories podcast, where we talk to an enthusiast or group of enthusiasts about a car or a collection of cars, a car event, something like that. Have a little fun with it, hear the story, and let them tell it in their own words. So take a look for those, the Collector Car Stories podcast, also on this YouTube channel, and all linked on the website under the podcasts link. And just a note too, that we're always looking for good stories. If you feel like you have one that would be worthwhile sharing, we'd love to hear from you. Just use the contact us link on any page of the website, or you can email us, admin@CollectorCarCanada.CA. Thank you, and we look forward to shooting some in the winter months. It'll be a lot of fun to keep cars on people's minds. So on to the car today. Today we have a 1991 Cadillac Allante. Allante, not a very well-known car, a low production car, built from 1987 to 1993. Designed by Pininfarina. I'll get a little closer to it when I hold the camera, but on the fender here, you can see there's a Pininfarina badge. The legend of this car, well, it's not a legend, it's all true and documentable, but Pininfarina assembled the bodies in Torino, Italy, and then they were loaded onto specially outfitted Boeing 747s, shipped over the Atlantic to just outside of Detroit, where GM did the rest of the assembly. So there's a big joke that GM lost $60,000 or $100,000 for every one of these they sold, despite them being a high-priced item, up around $60,000, $70,000 in US money, and that's in the late 80s and early 90s. And now they're very affordable. In fact, this one's going at no reserve. It's got under 110,000 kilometers. As I say, this one's a 1991. Just to give you a sense of the low volume of these cars, for the 91 model year, GM only sent 5 Canadian market cars to Canadian dealers. In 1990, it was even lower. It was 4. The car I'm sitting in, the car we're offering, however, it's a US market car. So it's not one of those 5 or one of those 4. But yeah, it got brought into Canada in very early 2022. And as I say, it's got under 110,000 kilometers on it. Another interesting note about this one is the owner has had us sell it for them using our white glove concierge service. So the white glove service is basically sellers who don't want to be involved in the sale. They want to be hands off. Basically, they toss us the keys and we do the rest. So we've gotten this one ready for sale. It includes the photo package, certainly. But yeah, getting into this car, what I'll do, I'll give it a start. So no trouble at all in the start. I'm just taking a look at the dash here, making sure the radio's not on, and it's not. So what I'll do is I'll pop the hood. We'll have a listen, walk around to the back and hear the exhaust and take a little tour of the car, as we always do. Okay, so I'm heading over to the camera to do a handheld camera portion of the video. All right, so we've got the hood up. Let's take a good listen to the engine. So this one is a 4.5 liter V8. You can see the V8 emblem right there. This is not the same engine that the 87 Cadillac Allante came with. This is a 4.5 liter. Originally the Allantes came with a 4.1. It's also not the 4.6 liter North Star that was used in the final year of Allante production, 1993. So again, a 4.5 liter V8, good for 200 horsepower, the factory rating, and 270 pound-feet of torque. So I'll zoom right in. We can get a good listen. despite this car being a 91. So nice shape for a 91. As I say, under 110,000 kilometers. And if you're concerned about it being a US car and that might be miles, I'll demonstrate inside how the digital dash toggles between miles and kilometers. I think the mileage rating was just under 68,000, but I'll show it to you when we get to the inside of the car. I see the wipers have been left on. I think first things first, I'll get those shut off before we continue. And I think that's a pretty good look at the engine compartment. Close that hood, and we'll go back to the single exhaust on the Allante, letting the 4.5 liter breathe. And you can see that this car, despite being a US market model, is equipped with the automatic headlights. Cadillac followers will be familiar with the Twilight Sentinel feature. I'm going to shut off the engine, and it's the Twilight Sentinel is basically a headlight delay, but Cadillac's had that featured for at least since the 60s, maybe even the 50s, and this car is equipped with it. It just leaves the lights on for a good long time after the engine's been killed. But so long as I was mentioning that odometer, you can see when I say under 110,000 kilometers, that's accurate. There's the 109,128 today. It's going to its new owner with under 110,000 kilometers. And there's a button here, English metric. So when I press that, there's the mileage rating. So it's actually under 68,000. But back to metric there for us. You can see also that this speedometer also switches when I press the button. Let's see if I can get that button into the screen. You can see the kilometers an hour marking below the 0 for our current speed, and that switches over to miles per hour when that same button is depressed. So back over to kilometers, and away we go. So I think that's it, all we need for the engine running for now. So I'll shut that down, and we'll begin our tour of the exterior of the car. So, obvious to see that we're working with a convertible. All of the Cadillac Allantes came with convertible soft tops. So, it's quite an interesting setup with the soft tops. There are a lot of soft tops where you manually release a couple of hooks from the windshield and then their power takes over. The Cadillac Allante is actually kind of the opposite. The power is to release or reattach the roof to the windshield, and then when you're putting it down from to get it down from that position, once you've released it from the windshield, it's a manual process. I'm not going to do it for the sake of this video, but on the detailed listing for lot 236 there's a demonstration of the top going down, so look for that if you're interested in the top operation. When we get to the inside of the car, I'll show you the controls for that as well. So as you see, the car hasn't been running for a minute or two here, but the lights are still in operation. That Twilight Sentinel feature is adjustable. You can get it down to 10 or 15 seconds, I think. I left it on to the longest setting today, just because I think the car looks sharp with that, with those headlights on, the flush mount. Sort of early flush mounts, I guess, with 87 being the first year for the Allante. This one again being a 1991. So getting in closer though, it's got a white on burgundy leather color scheme. I'll zoom right in on these factory wheels. So that's a Cadillac wheel, 16-inch. It's equipped with a set of Mastercraft SRT Touring tires. And you can look closely at our detailed listing for lot 236 for all the tire data. The size though, same size at all four corners, and that is 225/55 R16. I zoom in here to the fender, and there's the first of the Pininfarina badges I wanted to show you. I'm not sure if you could see that when I was starting the car or not, but there's a good look at it. So a red, I won't call it a stripe because that is a hard material in there, but sort of the red accent all the way around the car, which looks pretty sharp. Another really interesting thing, to me at least, on the Allante is the fuel door, would you believe? It's actually built in right here. So from a distance, it's difficult to know that that's a fuel door, but get in closer, that goes along with the lines of the car. Sure enough, it's a fuel door. So long as I'm talking about it, I'll pop the release here on the inside of the car and give you a look. So yeah, presto like magic. There we go with the fuel door. Pretty clean inside there too, which is always a good sign. Premium gas for the Allante, 91 octane. There was an imperfection here. Must be from another door hitting the car, but there's a paint chip there, and I'll show it with my tuning just to give you a sense of relativeness. Black mirror caps on each side. The Allante is a two-seater. We'll focus in on that when we get to the inside. And then on the driver's side rear, here's a good look at the 16x7 Cadillac wheel, skinned in, as I say, a Mastercraft SRT touring tire, 225 55 R16. A matching set of 4 tires all the way around, not only in size but also in brand. So moving around to the rear, an interesting feature about the Allante, a couple of them actually. Not too many Cadillacs that have horizontal taillights. It's much more of a Cadillac signature to have vertical taillights, but the Allante has the horizontals. So another nice feature about this car is that both this Cadillac emblem and this Allante emblem that are affixed to the taillights are both in place. You often see tougher old Allantes missing those emblems, or missing maybe half of them, which maybe even looks worse. They're really hard to get. So it's nice to find an Allante that has them intact. I suppose in today's day and age with 3D printers, it'd be a little less of an issue. If you knew someone who was operating a 3D printer, maybe that'd be the way to get one. The other really interesting feature to me on this Cadillac, fortunately we don't have a driver in place, but you can see the Cadillac emblem in the center of that circle, the red circle. That is a red circle because it doubles as the center high mount stoplight, i.e. the third brake light, the center brake light. And then you've got a key as well to get into the trunk. I'll show you the trunk when we get to it, but there's a remote fob to operate the trunk. So it's operable by key, as you see, but yeah, there's a keyless entry to both the doors and the trunk. So the last thing I'll show you here is this single rectangular shaped exhaust pipe, allowing that 4.5 liter V8 to breathe. Common thing, I guess, for GM back in the late 80s, early 90s to use these rectangular pipes. Moving around over to the passenger side, we have an antenna here. That's a power antenna, operable when the head unit is activated. So it just goes up automatically. Right now the radio is not on, so no antenna up. Good look at the passenger side rear wheel. Again, Cadillac 16x7 rim back here with the Mastercraft SRT Touring. I don't think there's any curb rash on any of these wheels. They could do with a bit of a cleaning or polishing, but no marks on them, so that's always great. One thing I didn't show you on the driver's side, I'm just noticing it on the passenger side, there are trim pieces for the convertible top that should be in place there. They're missing on both sides, so those are not included with the car. I'll bet an internet search would find them for you pretty quickly, however. And then a consistent finish over here on the passenger side. No fuel door over here, but there's that Pininfarina badge like we saw on the driver's side fender. Black mirror cap, and objects in mirror are closer than they appear warning on that passenger side mirror, of course. And here's a good look at the passenger side front wheel, in just as good a condition as the other three, I would say. Now that Twilight Sentinel has shut off and the headlights are off, and the black spoiler looked pretty good. There's some close-up photos of that on our detailed listing. Again, this is lot 236 on CollectorCarCanada.CA. a smart understated grille with the hallowed Cadillac emblem in the center. The car's also equipped with headlight washers, and the trim for the headlight washer over here on the driver's side is a bit cracked up. Still functional, but the trim is not mint condition. So there's another look at what I call the driver 3/4 angle of the 1991 Cadillac Allante. I think it's time we take a look at the interior. So the first thing I'll do when I open the door is show you the control. Well, first I'll show you these clean door jambs and a nice Allante emblem. Very clean all over the door jamb and on the door itself as well. I always like looking at these labels. We believe this car to be original paint other than the rear bumper cover, but often those labels are a tell that a car's been painted, and I don't see any such evidence on this car. But here are these convertible top controls. So it's a 3-step process to bring the top down. You hit this open here, and that's the motorized portion that disconnects the top from the windshield. Then you need to open the rear, which, as you'll see if you look at the video we post, the rear glass sort of folds up, and there's something here you got to get into place. There's a red tab. As I say, you'll see it on the demonstration video, and then you pull the whole roof down once this part comes up. So it takes a couple of times to get used to it, but 2 or 3 times doing it, and you'll have it licked without any trouble at all. So power seats on both sides on the Allante here. I'm just trying to recline it a bit for the sake of this video, but all the functions are working. And maybe I'll start it up to give you a sense of that digital dash. I don't want to miss that. I will say that this is a fitted Allante dash cover. It's even got an Allante branding here embroidered into it. I took a look at this dash, and I don't think it's hiding any cracks. We'll certainly get some photos of the dash on the detailed listing. Oh, it's fallen right off, so I can show you the whole dash right now. But yeah, the dash is in nice shape. I have a feeling this dash cover has been used a lot since the car was new, because I'm not seeing any cracking or imperfections on that dash, and it really does fit snugly, and it stays in place at speed even with the top down. So I've got that door closed now. Here's a good look at the steering wheel. It is equipped with an airbag, so pretty early car to be equipped with an airbag. And I'll start it up so that we can get a look at that space age dash we've got here. So the tach maxes out at 6,000 RPM with a 4,700 RPM red line. You can see by this shifter indicator, or transmission indicator, transaxle I should say, for this car. It's a 4-speed automatic, and the dial maxes out at 140, whether you're in metric or imperial, the miles an hour. But I haven't had the car faster than it, but the 3-digit display here would read a higher speed than 150. Another look at that odometer at 109,128. In addition to the round digital tach and speedometer, we've got gauges here for oil pressure, coolant temperature, and fuel. Unleaded fuel only, it says, but again, this car is made for 91 octane fuel. Cruise control equipped here, and there's a good look at all the light systems. You can see on the right at the top Twilight Sentinel, like I was talking about, and you can see that real little orange LED light to indicate the Twilight Sentinel is powered up. Power windows, just the 2 windows that operate in this car. There are rear side windows, but they operate with the roof. In other words, if the roof is closed, those windows are up, and if the roof is down, those windows are down. Also, power lock control up here, power mirror control right here, and then this is kind of a space age system. I'm going to turn on the radio just to power it up so we can see it light up, not to listen to it. So there are 3 LCD displays. This one is for temperature. So we've got a automatic climate control system. You set the temperature and go. Owner advises us that the air conditioning blows cool. So we can hear the compressor start up, but it's not blowing ice cold. And then this is a driver information center and an onboard computer. There is an imperfection in that LCD display, as you see, but all of the functions are legible. And then down below is the Delco Symphony sound system, both an in-dash cassette player down here and an in-dash CD as well. And looking over, we've got a glove box here with an Allante embossing. Owner's manual is still with the car in a smart Cadillac Attaché, I'll call it. So everything looks to be in order here. There are some service records from the current owner, as well as all of the service records from the current owner go with the car, and there are some select service records from prior to the current ownership. 4-speed automatic transaxle, there's the shifter. And this is an ashtray. I think there's no lighter there. Frankly, I'm not sure if the car comes with a lighter or not, but it may just be out so that the owner could use that as a 12-volt power source. Interesting thing about the Allante, there's interesting things everywhere about this car, but you might not believe that below the ashtray is where we find the fuses. There they are. So leather seats, the burgundy seats, and one thing I didn't say about the seats is that they're made by Recaro. So certainly a well-known seat manufacturer in the sporting world. There's a good look at the passenger seat. They are quite comfy. And then there's a little bit of storage down here. Just looks like napkins for now. But there's the fuel door I operated earlier. And there's a trunk release as well. I'll get to that trunk when we're done looking at the interior. Nice armrest, gets easily out of the way. But I think that's a pretty good look at the interior. I suppose I don't need the car running, so I'm going to shut it off. And of course that Twilight Sentinel will engage to keep those lights running while the timer, I guess, ticks down. So only the front seats. There is some storage map pockets behind the seats, and they do fold forward even though there's no back seat. Just a little fun fact, behind this panel, carpeted panel, is where the battery lives, although there is a positive terminal up front under in the engine compartment. So I do have the remote trunk release in my hand now. So what we do there, press that, and the trunk releases. There are some personal items in here, but nothing too incriminating. So we can take a good look at this cavernous Cadillac trunk. Another nice touch is that the trunk lid is carpeted as well as is the floor and then the walls of the trunk as well. So there is a spare here with all of this extra stuff back here. I'm not sure how good a look we'll get at it. I don't think we'll get too good a look at it. There's a bit of a look at it, but do refer to our detailed listing for a good look of what lives under there. I did that a little too quickly to describe what happens there, but Cadillac people will be familiar. So I'm going to release the trunk again. Watch closely, as once I do, it's a motor that opens the trunk, as you'd expect. And then I'll make sure that motor is done traveling upward. And then when it's time to close the trunk, it's a soft close, and the motor takes over to close the trunk. So a nice Cadillac touch. You can tell you're working with a Cadillac when you see features like that. So I'll walk around the car one more time and then move to some closing thoughts. Just at dusk here in the GTA. It's been a beautiful day. As you saw, I've been shooting this video in a t-shirt. Not bad for November. So there's a good look at the 1991 Cadillac Allante. So that's a good look at the 1991 Cadillac Allante we have available here on CollectorCarCanada.CA. It's no reserve. Next Tuesday, the high bidder buys this car and takes it home no matter how low the price. So that always adds a little excitement. Some sellers are a little nervous about the no reserve, but it is a feature that definitely gets some momentum going with the bidding. We sold a car by no reserve today, actually. But so yeah, the 1991 Cadillac Allante 4.5 liter V8 with a 4-speed automatic transaxle, sending the power to the front wheels. This example has under 110,000 kilometers. It's originally a US market car, but it's been imported to Canada above board. All the importation papers are filed, the HST is paid. So it's free and clear for the new owner, whoever the highest bidder is, next Tuesday. So again, lot 236 on CollectorCarCanada.CA, a 1991 Cadillac Allante convertible soft top with under 110,000 kilometers. Thanks so much for watching, and on to the next car.